Welcome. It's good to be with you again today. I had a long conversation with Dr. Robyn Odegaard and Russ Brezano about plant-based diets. Doc Robyn's background is competitive volleyball, and Russ was involved in the Mr. Olympia Tour. So they come at it from a very practical viewpoint. Confusion around diet isn't new. We've seen it our whole lives, and it seems to only continue to amplify. So one of the areas we wanted to get into, what's the source of some of this confusion? And I think once you start to understand that a little bit better, some other things will start to make sense too. We also looked at how do you get started, why you might want to get started, and what does all this mean in the context of your own personal goals and your own longevity goals. So sit back, enjoy. You can always find more information on longevityadvantage.com or join the conversation over on Facebook, where we're happy to have you as well. Enjoy. We're here today with Dr. Robyn and Russ, and they've just got a new book that came out, How to Feed a Human. Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you.
This really gets at, I think, the core of what we really struggle with is how to eat, right? So what's wrong with what we've been doing for the last 50 years?
Well, it's surprising how something that you would think would be as fundamental and intuitive as eating has gotten so messy. And part of the reason it's gotten messy is because it's become a very big profit center for the food industry. And the food industry likes nothing better than to confuse us about what we should eat so that we just eat whatever they tell us to. And they've gotten really, really good at telling us what to eat that's good for their bottom line and really bad for our waistline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just had somebody last week tell us that, well, every other day it's a different story, so I might as well just do whatever.
Yeah, and so the whole confusing the market. So I would say in longevity, we have the exact same issue, right? People are simply confused. We're old enough that we've been hearing some messages change over the course of our lifetime, and it's not surprising if you haven't done hard work.
Part of the frustration is that the science that we're sharing now and the information we share now has actually been around for 60 years. But the food industry has done a really good job of questioning it, spinning it, or just totally lying about it.
And what the food industry calls science, I, as an academic, would never call science. Because in my world, science means you have a theory and you test that theory and see what the outcome is. What we see a lot with the food industry is they have an outcome and they create a study that comes to that outcome. That isn't science. That's manipulation and marketing.
Right, and yeah, my 30 years in research, I can operate any study if you tell me what outcome you want.
Right, exactly. What do you want it to say? Sure, we can do that.
And that's certainly, I think we see that in a surprising space now that I look in the food space is how much effort has gone into producing studies that are purely for marketing purposes and have nothing to do with bettering health.
And we tell our clients all the time, if it's written on the front of a package, it's marketing. Don't believe it, it's just marketing. You have to turn the package over and look at the ingredients list because and even there, they can finesse it to make it really hard to tell what you're actually eating.
How did you get into where you are today, maybe?
Yeah, so I'm a former competitive beach volleyball player, and Russ is a former competitive bodybuilder and trainer on the Mr. Olympia Tour. So we had some pretty serious athletic backgrounds when we were young. And so, at that time, staying in shape and being healthy was pretty easy. I mean, Russ was much more strict about what he ate than I was. I was fortunate that I just kind of stayed lean because I was active and it was fine. But Russ will definitely say he would have been a better bodybuilder.
I would have, because as a bodybuilder, you spend 16 to 12 weeks trying to diet for a show. If I was a whole food plant-based bodybuilder, I probably would have spent 4. Because my body would have been much closer to competition weight. And an example is, I'd go from 220 pounds, now I'm 5'6", so I'd go from 220 pounds in what I'd call the off season and get ready for a show, which I had to weigh in at under 174 and a quarter. I can talk. And so, you're losing 50 pounds or so.
Huge.
Yeah.
And that's a huge stress on the body. And what am I doing that with? Chicken and, all this stuff that... I used to eat 10 egg whites every morning, getting ready for a show, which just horrifies me now thinking about that.
And I definitely would have been a better volleyball player because my stamina would have been better. I mean, there's a lot of science now showing that when your blood pressure is good and your veins are healthy and all of that, your stamina is better. So I would have been a better volleyball player. But, as we got older and we stopped competing. We do still work out quite a bit, but I got to be that 40 and a little bit of fluffiness coming on, and I started doing the diets like everybody does, the portion control and this and that and the next thing, and we created our own diet.
Yeah, the superhero diet, right?
Which didn't work.
Didn't work. It didn't. That was funny. The diet we thought people that diet for like to be Superman on TV or movies would want to do to get in shape. Didn't work. Our weight kept going up, and now all of a sudden at 174 and a quarter, I was fat. I was not show shape.
Fluffy.
Yeah,
Fluffy.
and cholesterol going up, all these things happening. Now we're talking about eating like broiled chicken or broiled fish, a baked potato or some kind of grain, not oil. We didn't use oils, and in a vegetable. Sounds like something that should be a good.
We kind of were on the Mediterranean diet, basically, give or take.
Yeah, and you think, okay, this is a good diet. We should have no problem.
And I actually went to my doctor and I'm like, look, I don't understand. Here's what I'm eating. Here's my calorie intake. Here's the exercise that I do. Why am I continuing to gain weight? Why is my cholesterol going up? And she said to me, Robyn, you're over 40. You need to accept that, this is the body you're going to have. I think maybe you should see a psychologist about your body dysmorphic disorder. And I was like, I am a psychologist. I don't have body dysmorphic disorder. I'm overweight. That's the problem. And I was telling a friend of mine about it, and my friend said, Robyn, just do like the rest of us do. Wear Spanx. I'm like, no, that cannot be the right answer. And that's kind of where our journey started. I was just super frustrated with everything I was seeing in the market and what was available. And I just thought, this cannot be. It cannot be that as we age, we're designed to get fat and decrepit and unhealthy. That can't be right. And that's why I started digging into the science. And I tell people all the time, if you start looking at the science, it only leads one place. It only leads to eating plant-based. If you want long-term health, if you want something quick and fast that'll make you a pretty corpse in a skinny casket, there are options for that.
There are a lot of options.
But if you want long-term health, there's only one option, and that's plant-based. And that's where we ended up, and that's what's worked for us. It's what works for our clients. It's really been phenomenal.
It's pretty clear we're seeing a pretty strong shift towards plant-based eating. So for those who have kind of heard about it, so maybe we can walk us through a little bit, like, where do you start, right? Because this is, if I've been eating this way for 50 years, this all may sound good, but starting it has to be quite a challenge.
So there's kind of three things that we like to help our clients do, and let's talk about the what, which is what do you eat, right? That's a hard thing. And then when, and especially in our culture, you see people eat for lots of different reasons, and most of them are not to fuel their bodies. They're not because they need nutrition. So when to eat, and then why, which is the psychology of why people are choosing to eat the things that they do choose, and how to kind of bridge that gap between what they want to do and how to actually do it. So those are the three things. So when it comes to where to start, I think one of the biggest challenges that people run into when they say, okay, I'm going to start adding more plant-based food, is that most people, when they think about what's for dinner, the first thing that comes to mind is, what animal protein am I going to have? So they start with beef, chicken, turkey, pork, whatever that animal protein is. And when you say to them, okay, we're going to eliminate the animal protein, suddenly they have no foundation as to where to start. And they're like, okay, there's nothing left to eat. What am I going to eat? Salad? And so I kind of joke and say I need to do a cooking show called More Than Salad, or Not Just Salad, or something, because no, it's not salad. And so what we encourage is start with your starch. And then and we can get into this if you want to, but then people have a fear of carbohydrates, and that's kind of the basis of eating plant-based. Russ and I eat about 80% carbs, which people look at us and are like, how is that possible?
No, it just reminded me that we calculated our breakfast and how many grams of dietary fiber we have in it, and it's between 32 and 35 grams of dietary fiber, just our breakfast. Yeah.
And most people get like 12.
For the day.
For the day in their fiber. So your dietary starches are going to be the things like your whole grains, your potatoes, your sweet potatoes,
quinoa,
beans,
which is actually a seed, but
beans.
Yeah, beans.
And so if you start there, rather than start with the animal protein, if you start with your starches, and then you can go from there, you can add your aromatics for flavor. So your onions and your carrots and your celeries and all of those kind of things, your garlic, of course, and add those things in, and then you're going to want to pick a flavor. What is that? And it's the same thing you do when you eat now. Do you want to eat Indian? Do you want to eat Italian? Do you want to eat Mexican? Do you want to eat Asian? Like, what flavor do you want? And that's where your spices and your sauces are going to come in. And then throw in some fruit for dessert, and wow, you just ate a whole plant-based meal really easily.
Right. And the thing to keep in mind too is, because the question we get and everybody gets in this space is, where am I going to get my protein? And then like now they're talking about, well, how does a giraffe look? How does a gorilla look? How does all these plant-eating animals that are very muscular and very big, and all they do is eat plant. So where am I going to get my protein is just not a thing. Every plant has protein in it. Some have more, some have less. All plants have the amino acids that you need in them. Again, some have more, some have less. So where am I going to get my protein really is not a thing in a plant-based space. As they say, if protein deficiency was a thing, there'd be a ward in a hospital full of vegans, and it's just not a thing.
So my experience in really since switching to plant-based is what I noticed immediately with really no other life changes was I dropped about 10 pounds. Is that pretty common?
Yeah, I mean, we dropped 20 to 25 pounds each within, 6 months of switching over, and we didn't go 100%. I mean, we worked our way up. We are 100% now, but we worked our way to it. And in the process of just working our way to it, we lost that much weight.
A lot of it is because you end up with your nutrient density goes up so substantially because food has the nutrients your body needs. Whereas when you're eating the standard American diet, there's a lot of empty calories. And so what your body ends up doing is it takes those empty calories and it's like, great, I can turn these to fat, but I can't use them. I need some nutrients. Please feed me. I'm hungry. And so you eat more empty calories and then your body says, same problem, let me turn that into fat, need nutrients, and you end up nutrient deprived and too calorie rich, so you end up overweight and malnourished. Whereas when you switch to being plant-based, you're eating such nutrient dense foods because obviously green vegetables and yellow vegetables and red vegetables and all these things have amazing nutrients in it that your body says, okay, I'm good. I've had enough. Don't feed me. I've got the fuel I need. I'm fine. And so you end up with nutrient dense and calorie poor, not really poor, but less. So your ratio is much better. And so you do tend to lose weight and until you reach your ideal weight, whatever your body's ideal weight is, and then you kind of level off. And that's what we have found. That's what our clients find.
And the other thing to keep in mind as well is because all plants have fiber and animal products have no fiber, fiber fills you up. Mm-hmm. So in essence, what you do is you're eating a lot of fiber, which fills you up, which means at the end of the day, you've actually started eating less calories than you would on a standard American diet. And that, of course, is going to have weight loss attached to it as well.
And that fiber feeds your microbiome, which makes you healthy. So there's a whole lot of kind of working together symbiotic relationships that come when you start eating more plant-based.
That's good, because I know I eat more now than I ever have.
Oh,
I go to bed at night and I'm saying I ate too much, and then I wake up the next day and I'm exactly the same weight I was the day before. So
yeah, we post pictures in our Facebook group, the Whole Food Muscle Facebook group. We post pictures under the hashtag What's for Lunch, and we have these plates that are just mounded with food. And we've had people say, "There's no way you could eat all of that," and I'm like, "Yeah, watch."
Yeah. Well, I think for me, one of the real validations was last summer we went away to Greece on summer vacation. Mm-hmm. And the pattern most of us are into when we're doing summer vacation, well, I got to lose weight before I go on vacation, so I look good in my bathing suit or whatever. And then I'm going to come back high, so at least I'll come back less heavy than when I left. Right. We ate in restaurants at least one meal a day. But still, we're plant-based. We walked every day because that's what we did, but we did no exercise. Mm-hmm. And I came back the exact same weight as when I left. And that was the first time I've ever been through that experience. That was another real validation for me.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And there's other benefits too. I mean, one of the first things that people noticed when I went plant-based, people started saying to me, what did you do to your skin? What products are you using? Tell me what you've changed. And I was like, I didn't change anything. It took like half a dozen people asking me, what did you change in your skin routine for me to realize, oh, wait, I went plant-based. So your skin gets better, your gut gets healthier, you feel better, you sleep better, you lose weight, your cholesterol comes down, your blood pressure normalizes. Like all of these things that are diet-related problems that a standard American diet creates that people think is normal, suddenly you don't have any of those problems anymore.
A lot of what I find in my teaching is I'm teaching you to unlearn what you've learned for decades, mm-hmm. right? So one of them is switching diets to a plant-based diet is a sacrifice. I'm going to give up things that I love, right? This is, it's a conditioning it's real, right?
Yeah,
absolutely real until you've been through it. And my own experience is I've never had food as tasty as what we eat now.
Right. Two things happen. One is plants are very favorable, flavorful.
Flavorful.
Yes, they have a lot of, thank you. They have, flavors you never even realize eating the standard American diet. And the reason for that is your taste buds are changing, right? So your taste buds on the standard American diet are really into the salt, sugar, and fat.
The bliss point.
The bliss point.
That's an industry term.
Right. And as you move closer to a plant-based diet, those taste buds are changing to plant flavors. And we say all the time, we eat lunch or something like that, and we're like, I can't believe everybody doesn't love this because the flavors are just popping in your mouth. You're just like, wow, I never knew that tasted like that, or I never knew that was so flavorful.
Flavorful.
I'm going to stop using that word.
Tasty.
Tasty, yes.
Well, and I think as well from the seasoning, right, and all the things you can do with it, that again, it opens you up into like a whole new food group in terms of like we think about cultural foods. Mm-hmm. It's just another way of bringing some cultural flavors into. I would say it's more forgiving around adding flavors than traditional foods are. Right? There's only so much you can do with a steak.
Right, and all those flavors are spices. Right? I mean, you eat Indian, it's because of the spices they put in. You eat, Chinese, you eat Mexican, whatever. It's the spices they use. Whether or not you have a piece of chicken or you have beans doesn't change the flavor.
Let's go back to the point about protein. The steak, the chicken, the fish, they're just a protein broker. So they get their protein from a plant and they turn it into protein, muscle protein, just like humans do. We would get protein from a plant, turn it into muscle protein. When you eat their muscle, then you get the protein that they condense, but you also get the rider of the cholesterol and the saturated fat and the toxins of eating higher on the food chain and all these other issues that you run into with eating animal products that you don't get if you're eating plant-based.
Let's talk a little bit about what's whole food plant-based, what's plant-based, what's vegan, what's paleo. Can you kind of just talk us through that and kind of just simplify it down for us a little bit?
A lot of times when people hear that we eat plant-based, they'll say, oh, you're vegan. That's kind of the first thing that comes out. And yes, we eat foods that are in line with veganism, but veganism is an ethos. It's an opinion about the environment, about the animals, mostly about the animals, and it's so much more than just what they eat. It goes way beyond that. And also, they eat anything that doesn't have animal products. So things like Oreo cookies and Coca-Cola and Doritos. There's no animal products in those. They are vegan. They are not whole food plant-based, and we don't choose to eat them. And that's because we don't choose to eat plants because of an ethos about animals. Instead, we choose to eat plants because it's a healthier option. And obviously, Oreos, Doritos, and Coca-Cola are not the healthy option. So when you hear vegan, that's one thing. When you hear whole food plant-based, you'll also see it abbreviated with the initials. That's more about eating the whole food, so as little processing as possible. And obviously, the Whole Food Muscle Club, we have, these are the kind of the guidelines. We don't expect people to follow them. It's not the Bible. You don't get sent to hell if you don't do it correctly. So you're allowed to kind of do it the way you want. We've done a lot of research that kind of says, if you want to move toward being healthy, this works. You'll also see vegetarianism. You'll see ovo-lacto-vegetarianism. And those are people who don't eat meat but do eat eggs or milk or dairy products. And there's health reasons to not do that, which I can get into the science of that if you want to. And then you'll also hear people say standard American diet, also called SAD, which is the processed food way that people generally eat. Yeah, I think about it the way a freshman in college would eat. That's kind of the the standard American diet. And then there's also...
Which is also the sad American diet.
Yes, exactly. And then you'll also see one where they say carnivore or carnivorism, and those are people who lean more toward eating much more animal product, much more meat, and they're the ones who seem to believe that somehow we're lions. And I'm like, well, lions sleep 23 hours a day. And they have way different teeth, and they
very short intestines.
Yeah, and
if I see something that's at the grocery store or at the convenience store, something that says it's vegan, that really doesn't mean anything other than it just doesn't have animal products in it, right?
Exactly.
Or no animals were hurt in the process.
That's another thing too.
There was no leather strap use or anything like that. I mean, it's really all about nothing animal, nothing was touched by an animal.
So I would argue it's another place where we've yet confused the whole food space.
You'll see people call themselves junk food vegans, which means they eat a lot of the faux meat, a lot of the things that are labeled vegan but are not health foods.
The Oreo cookies.
Yeah.
Right, and we certainly see the burgers have probably dominated a lot of space in the market lately. They're not new, other than they've probably, you can tell the game has been stepped up. We said earlier, right, the game is stepping up, and so we're seeing some of these things play. And then, in 5 years, I'm sure there's going to be another whole round of things. But it is interesting to see that it is obviously getting tremendous traction. My view of this is we're in a transition period. And so I would say the positive is people are interested in the alternative.
Right.
We would look at it and say, chemically, you've got a ways to go to get to whole food, but it's certainly indicating there's an interest in and a recognition that we do have a fundamental
And
problem.
they're fine as a transition food. I have no problem with that. I mean, like Russ said earlier, it's not like we went cold turkey or whole hog, which is kind of a funny way to say it. But, we took about 8 months to transition, and we never intended to go 100%. It just kind of happened because we felt so much better. And so if you're in transition and you're trying to figure out how to start your meals with starches, because it's a learning process, a learning curve. If you want to add some faux meat now and then just to kind of bridge that gap, that's not a problem.
It's more about what you do every day, meal after meal. Those are the things that eventually accumulate, right?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. And what you'll find as you start moving toward ingesting more plants, you're going to feel better. And then when you do decide to have a cheat day, which I don't really love that term, or you decide to not eat plants one day, you'll find that you don't feel as well, and your gut isn't happy, and you realize, it's not worth it. And so it'll happen if you just allow it to.
You two both come from an exercise and athletics background, and you're in the food space. And so, again, what are the things we've been told for years around, eat your broccoli and get your daily exercise? I'm guessing that means something different to you today than it did 10 and 20 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Today it's about staying healthy so that as we go through life and we age, I'm 58 years old right now, and I don't want to feel any different now than when I'm 78 or 88 or hopefully 98 or however long I can go. And I've always said that I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I want to be as healthy as I can for as long as I'm here. And that's always been my goal. What we've learned is that's going to be achievable through a plant-based lifestyle, where the standard American diet is going to start tearing your body apart as you age. It's leaching calcium from your bones because it's trying to digest the animal proteins, and a whole assortment of different things that happen by eating animal products.
Yeah.
So you touched on one thing, not to get too far off on a tangent, calcium. We need it from milk, right?
No, it's the funny thing is, and there's marketing, right? There's
Classic example, right?
You fortify something, and all of a sudden it's the only way you can get it, right? And where do you get your vitamin D from? People think milk. Well, they fortified it with milk. The vitamin D is not in it until they put it in it.
And the interesting thing about calcium is that your body uses calcium to offset the acidity that's created by animal protein. And so if you're eating a lot of animal protein, your body needs more calcium. And so people say, I'll drink more milk to offset. So you're adding an animal protein in milk to offset the problem that you have too much animal protein. The logic is super flawed. And the studies actually show that the countries that drink more milk actually have higher rates of hip fractures. So you can get your
osteoporosis, right?
All those problems.
You can get plenty of calcium eating plants. Eat your green vegetables. Eat your beans. It's not a problem.
Problem later in life with a fractured hip, particularly for women, that's a very, very serious sentence that you've signed up for. The statistics around that are scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think where I would look at my own history and say, well, I would say I struggle with weight from age 12. So it happened pretty early where I first noticed it. Never really got. I think at one point I was probably 30 pounds more than what I am today. That was my high point, which was oddly enough also my low point.
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
that happened
yeah.
when I was about age 40.
Oh wow.
Right. So I was lucky enough to recognize it early, but I certainly recognized the struggle of this all sounds fine, right? But I've started a lot, like I never smoked, so I don't have the experience of what quitting smoking is like. But I think trying to get off of what our established eating habits are not easy. So this has got to be a place where people, I'm guessing, struggle to. I'd like to, but I keep failing, and so I give up.
Right.
Yeah, well, and it does, the other thing is our culture. So, I talk to our clients a lot about they have people who love them into failure. Because in our culture, we consider food love. It's a way that we express love. And, think about Valentine's Day. What do we give people? Stuff that's horrible for them. Like why are we giving people chocolate for, no, love, not the same thing. And I see that a lot with our clients is that they're trying to eat this way and their friends or family are just like, oh, but you can have a bite, or oh, you can have a little bit, or this one time won't hurt. And oh, but this is a celebration, and suddenly Tuesday is a celebration. And so we have I call it other sabotage, other people who are sabotaging you by loving you into failure. So you've got that challenge to deal with. And then you've got the challenge of willpower fatigue. Every one of us has a certain amount of willpower it's a finite amount. And everything we do to be reasonable humans in society requires willpower. Someone sends you a nasty email and you type a nasty email back and then you delete it. That takes willpower. Someone screams at you at a red light and you don't scream back and flip them off. That takes willpower. Your kid's teacher sends home a note and it makes you crazy, but you don't scream about it in front of so everything derails or erodes your willpower. And so if you then add in the fact that I can't, and I won't eat those things, that takes willpower. And so what I encourage people to do is, rather than pushing against and saying, I can't, I won't, I don't, say, right now I choose not to. Because that isn't that's not a willpower struggle. That's okay, right now I'm not. And that helps a lot with that failure that I did it, I didn't, I did it, and that helps too.
Yeah, so the one practical thing which in retrospect I looked at was, I realized once we had fully committed, and it wasn't that there was any particular moment, it just happened. Suddenly everything became easier.
Yeah.
I think another interesting thing as well is that, so if you eat the Central American diet, you really have limited choices, right? You can have steak, you can have chicken, you can have fish, you can have pork. But you're limited to those selections.
Let's say I have a dozen things.
Right? Yeah, we get that comment from people that say, I got to have variety in my food. If you eat plant-based, you got thousands of
Tens
options.
of thousands of options.
So the idea of variety, you couldn't get more variety in eating plants. So it's always funny to me when I hear that, when somebody says, I need variety. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, then you're going to get it.
And people too, you become kind of invested in the way that you were taught to eat by your parents. And there's some evolutionary reasons for that, and there's cultural reasons for that. And so people don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to put any effort into it. And I think that creates a problem too, because if you don't think about it when you're trying to make that change and trying to get to that learning curve, you're going to default back. And now I batch cook. I cook one thing on the weekends, and you can do different things with it. You make a big batch of pea soup, and then you can have a salad with it, or you can have a sandwich with it, or you can do lots of different things with it.
Soup, good.
Yeah, Russ likes his soup.
And the funny thing too is, so she went from I don't cook to not only does she do all our cooking now, but she does a cooking show once a week.
I do a cooking show once a week.
So talk about a complete,
Where do you do your cooking show?
So the cooking show is on Facebook. That's where we do it live. It's in the group Whole Food Muscle on Facebook. And then it's available for free in the group for 1 week. And then they become part of the exclusive content for the Whole Food Muscle Club, which you can join by going to wholefoodmuscleclub.com. And then we have a whole bunch of videos of me cooking random things.
And a bunch of other videos about the science and, different ways
There's
to do
hundreds
it.
of videos.
There's a ton of information on there.
That's one of the things I see people struggle, because the internet is an awfully big place to go look, and you can find one place that addresses most of what you need. I look at what's convenient. Well, convenient is put the information in one place where I can find it, versus trying to go all over.
And that's why I don't have hundreds of recipes out there, because if I give somebody 200 recipes, they get overwhelmed. If I give somebody 20 recipes of things that we actually cook, then they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. Russ's bread recipe is one that people are like, oh yeah, that's easy. I can make that bread.
And they make it and they tell us, I made it and it's fantastic.
They post pictures in the group and it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, and so you mentioned about batch cooking. I'm just thinking as you're talking about it, so what did I reach for lunch today? Well, same concept one was a quinoa dish that we made that's so full of color, and it's about 15 minutes of prep time.
Right.
And then the other is a chili, which is probably, again, at most 15 minutes. We let it sit and simmer for about 15 minutes after we do it. like cooking to me has never been easier.
Yeah.
Right. And the great thing about that, so you talk about, having it in the fridge so you can have it when you want it, but as it's sitting there, it's just increasing in flavor. So you think it's good the first night and you eat it the second night, well, wait a second, it's better today.
What would be the first things to kind of stock up on so you feel like you have
Well, we do have
essentials?
we have a starter kit that's free that people can get, and if they go to wholefoodmuscle.com, so Whole Food Muscle Club with the word club on it takes you to our website. But if you go to wholefoodmuscle.com, it'll take you to the starter kit where you can download the starter kit, and in that, one of the things that's in there is a staples list of foods that we keep in the house, and they're going to be the starches. So I tell you to start with a starch, you should probably have starches in the house. So your grains, your beans, your potatoes, your sweet potatoes, those are going to be things you're going to always want in the house. Then you're going to want your aromatics, which is your other color vegetables, your green, yellow, red, orange vegetables. Of course, your onions, your garlic. Those are things that are super important. You can make. It's amazing the things that you can make if you start with onions, garlic, peppers, celery, carrots, and mushrooms. Those 6 things, chop them up, and you can eat them raw. You can cook them. You can add spices. Throw some lentils in there. Throw peas in there. Add soup. Make water. But
Seriously, what do you want me to make? Soup.
One of the things in longevity where we look at is this common theme of simplifying your life, right? It addresses the stress that people are under. So what's the way to limit stress is simplify, right? Deal with your junk and put it away. And as soon as you start simplifying the cooking becomes less stressful, which in response becomes more joyful, both the experience and the eating.
Yeah. And another thing we also say too is, don't ever feel like this is 100% or nothing. Because a lot of people feel like, oh, I got to do it 100% or I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fail.
Or I'm failing, yeah.
It took us 8 months to get to 100% plant-based. So we always try to get people to 80%. And if we can get you at 80% plant, what we have found is you'll take the journey yourself. You'll go to the extra 20% because you start feeling better. You have more energy. Your taste buds change, so the food becomes tastier. And it's just like, well, why would I eat that? And then the experience we had when we transferred over is we used to go to one of our favorite places to get nachos. And one time we went there after moving over, and we got it, and Robyn's like, they did something to the cheese. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't taste right. So
it tasted like plastic.
Yeah, so we called the manager over, and we said, what'd you guys do? Change the cheese you're using? He goes, no, it's exactly the same. We never went back for that.
Our taste buds had changed so much we didn't like it.
Yeah.
But another question that we get about what to keep in the house is, frozen. People always ask, is frozen okay? And in fact, frozen vegetables and frozen fruit are often better because they're frozen at the point where they're picked rather than traveling 1,500 miles to get to you. So absolutely, frozen peas, frozen carrots, we have frozen blueberries we use every day.
Mango, cherries,
absolutely the frozen fruits and vegetables. And it's amazing the organic things you can find frozen at really good prices.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. And I'll set up with one example of blueberries, right? So when you think about whether to get organic or what they refer to as conventional, there's 2 aspects. I think one is whether it's GMO and has been hit with pesticides, right. Which there's 2 aspects there, but the other is purely what's the taste. So my example that if you look in my freezer is blueberries, wild organic blueberries. Put them against anything else and just do a taste comparison.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Not to mention, the nutrient value in that wild blueberry.
So we look at fruit and vegetables around, which would be the ones you'd say when you head to the store?
Talk a little bit about kind of what are GMOs, what's conventional, what does organic mean? Because I think it's really confusing. So conventionally grown means that they use all the pesticides, they use all the herbicides, they can do pretty much whatever they want with them, and that's you have to deal with that. GMO means that they've been genetically modified to be able to handle being doused with Roundup and live. So obviously that's a problem. Now, I used to think that if something said non-GMO, it by de facto had to be organic because they couldn't, it wouldn't live, they couldn't douse. But what I realized is that they still use Roundup to desiccate those crops. And that means that they spray them with a Roundup at the very end so that the plant, because what is the last thing a plant does as it's dying is it takes all the knowledge and all the energy that it has and it dumps it into its offspring, which are the seeds and the plants that we eat. And so I realized, oh wait, non-GMO doesn't mean organic. They are not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination. Organic means that they can't use those pesticides and herbicides and things like that, that they have to be free of that. So obviously, if you have an unlimited budget, buy organic all of the time. Not only because it's just good for you, but because it's great to, put your money where your mouth is and say, yay for organic food. That's phenomenal. But most of us don't have unlimited money to spend on organic. And so then the question is, where do you put your money and what does that look like? So there are a couple of options out there. Now, there's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And none of what I'm going to share with you says that these are bad, don't eat them. I'm not saying if you can't afford organic or you can't find them organic that you shouldn't eat these fruits and vegetables, because eating them is still better for you than choosing processed food or animal food. But if you're going to choose to eat organic, there's a few things that, okay, these are things that you should choose. Now, the three that we choose that are not necessarily on this list are soy, wheat, and corn, because they are the most GMO'd foods in the American diet. And so we try really hard that those three things we always try to get organic.
So those three again are?
Soy, wheat, and corn.
Yep.
So those are the three that we try. And then on top of that, the Environmental Working Group, which to me sounds like it should be like a grouping of dogs in the dog show. The Environmental Working Group now, but no, it's not. It's actually an organization. They come out every year with the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And those are when they look at them, are the ones that have the most pesticides and most herbicides or the least. And I'll just read them off to you because I have them here. The Dirty Dozen for 2019 were strawberries. They topped the list. And we have a hard time finding organic strawberries.
Always top the list, which is disappointing.
It's super
it's hard to
disappointing.
find organic strawberries.
Yeah, we struggle to find organic strawberries. So strawberries top the list. Spinach and kale are on that list. I think that's because they become more popular as this plant movement has been coming. They've been trying to find ways to make the market more flooded.
Yeah.
So spinach and kale are on there this year. Nectarines, which I don't even like nectarines, but they're on there. Apples, and it's super easy to find organic apples. Like we've never had a problem with that. Grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, and sometimes you'll see hot peppers on that list. But again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't eat them. The samples all meet the government guidelines for what's appropriate, and take that with whatever you feel about that.
Sorry, just to be specific, they meet U.S. government
US
guidelines.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the other thing to consider too is somebody wants to say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and eat the animal products because why would I eat that? So the animals that you want to eat are getting all of those pesticides, plus then you're getting all the problems with the animal product.
Right.
So it's like a double whammy.
The further up the food chain you eat, the more toxic stuff there's going to be because they've ingested. I mean, GMO soy and corn is fed to cows.
Right.
So they're getting all of those pesticides. So definitely eating the produce outweighs the risk of exposure, even if you can't manage to afford or find organic. But then the Clean 15, and we did actually change some of the things we were paying for organic, and we changed it based on the 2019 Clean 15 that came out. And this is interesting. So avocados, sweet corn, which I think it's very odd that sweet corn is on there because sweet corn is a GMO product typically, but it is on the list, so I'm going to go ahead and say sweet corn. Pineapples, frozen sweet peas, onions, papayas, eggplant, asparagus, kiwis, the plant, not the bird, cabbage, cauliflower, cantaloupes, broccoli, mushrooms, and honeydew. So those are the Clean 15. If you're paying for, if you're trying to figure out what to not spend your money on, those you can go ahead and get conventional because they're on the Clean 15 this year.
One of the drivers has purely been an aesthetics thing around what do they want their fruit to look like. So if you look at what's on the Dirty Dozen list, some of those things are managed just because people don't want to see spots on their food. That's how conditioned we've become around what something is supposed to look like, and that makes it better if it's got no blemishes. In reality, it's the things you can't see that are ultimately going to hurt you, right?
And unfortunately, the more that they play with our food, the less flavor it has, the less nutrients it has. Like there's just so many things, like just real food, eat real food. And it's hard to eat real food when they're playing with it.
If you have the ability, grow your own.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a garden and we try to grow what we can.
We do we?
We do.
And unfortunately, the regulations around that are that the default is, well, it still looks like whatever So it must be safe. So that's the environment we live in. The rising chronic diseases are starting to come back to point to things which we started to change our farming habits and our seed habits over the last 20 years.
It's another case where we have to be our own advocates. We cannot trust the government and the powers that be and the food industry whose job is to make money to feed us. We just can't do that anymore. And I talk all the time about fake food. And if it's designed to make a company money, it's not real food.
Or is it designed to make you healthy?
One of the easiest ways, I think, for people to choose is anyone marketing the product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even from my background as a bodybuilder, when I used to see new supplements come on the market, and bodybuilders jump on a new supplement like it's a hot tomato, yeah, I gotta have it. And then, 2 years later, people are dying from liver disease.
Well, I think this is actually important because where a lot of people try to substitute poor eating with supplements, the supplement market it's just another one that's totally out of control. Mm-hmm. And the consumers really don't know what they're doing. They think they believe they're doing the right thing based on the marketing again. Yeah. But in reality, if you just come back and start eating real food.
Yeah, you can't supplement your way to good health. Right. It's not a thing. You can't do that.
And the thing about supplements, very short to have people understand it, is that what a supplement company does is they research and they think they figured out that this, like vitamin C, does this. And what they don't take into account is the vitamin C in an apple with all the other nutrients surrounding it are working together to accomplish something. You can't extract vitamin C and say it's going to do the same thing because it's missing everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
All food's missing.
Right. And even if you look at the microbiome and supplements people take there, well, we have about 20,000 different bacterial strains. Mm-hmm. If you take 4 and flood your system with 4 bacterial strains, what's that going to do to your overall balance? Right, yeah. I think you'd want to have a pretty good diagnosis to know that you're actually missing these 2 or 3 specific elements before you jump on it, and that's unfortunately
not. It's actually faster to put it in the other end if that's the problem.
Absolutely, and pretty effective.
That's effective,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Because then it starts where it needs to be.
Where should we do our shopping?
So a lot of the box stores, the big box stores that you can be members of now, have a lot of really good organic bulk food that, and people say, oh, I can never eat it, it'll go bad. If you're eating all plants all the time, it's amazing how much of it you can get through. As a psychologist, this is important to me, which is why I'm going to take us on a little tangent a second. People say, I don't have time for that. And so the question I ask is, when did your health become an inconvenience? Because a lot of us feel like our time is our most valuable asset, but in reality, it's your health. Because if you don't have your health, it'll steal your time. It's that simple. And so I encourage people to kind of question that when they say, well, I don't have time for that. And maybe it's just not a priority, and maybe it needs to be.
As we think about our aging bodies, our skin is going to likely lose some of its elasticity, but there's no record to say that we suddenly need to carry another 20 pounds of fat in our organs or around our stomach or on our legs. So what's going on in the chemistry behind the scenes that we're not aware of, but how those will continue to accumulate if we don't kind of get on a different trajectory.
When you eat animal products, you're putting oxidants, which they create damage in your body, into your body. And that damage can do a lot of different things. Cancer is one of the things that it does. Antioxidants are the things that are in plants. Your blueberries with their bright blue color, you're going to get a lot more of that from your plants than you are anywhere else. And so it just by default makes sense that if you can eliminate the things that cause your cells to replicate incorrectly, that cause damage, that cause aging, the more of them you can eliminate by eating plant-based, the healthier and the longer you're going to live.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, if you really think about it, if you're eating animal products and you understand that every time you take a bite, you're doing damage to your inside of your body, I think that's a motivator. I mean, maybe it's not. I think it's a motivator to say, I better stop doing this, or at least do it a lot less.
Yeah.
With anything, alcohol, whatever it is, whatever your vices are, we never say cold turkey, don't do it anymore, but just understand what you're doing.
Make a conscious decision.
And by understanding it allows you to make better decisions.
I think part of being successful at this is knowledge, and that's one of the things we try to do, for our clients, for the members of the Whole Food Muscle Club, is give them the knowledge so that they can make an educated choice. And if you tell someone if you jump off of a building you're going to break your leg, and they say I don't care, and they jump off the building, well, they knew the results. It happened. Okay, that's their choice. I feel the same way about food. If you tell people, here's what happens if you eat this way, and here's what happens if you eat that way. If they decide to go down a path that's unhealthy, that's on them.
Obviously, they know about the book, and that's
Right.
one place. So maybe start with, where would they get the book?
All right, so the book is available pretty much anywhere books are sold. The easiest place for people to find it is usually on Amazon, and it is there. And obviously, if you see us speak live, we always have copies with us. But Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and any bookstore that you go to can order it for you if they don't have it in stock. So the book is really very accessible. We've been given a lot of good feedback that it's an easy read, that it's motivational, that it gave people good knowledge. And this is from people who are brand new to plant-based and people who are new, have been in it for a while. So we've gotten some really good feedback on the book. So definitely would recommend that as a place to start. Obviously, our website is on the book, but if you don't have the book, you can go to wholefoodmuscleclub.com, and that's our website. It has our bios. It has a picture of Russ when he was bodybuilding, so definitely you should check that out because that's really cool. Has a picture of me playing volleyball back in the day. So definitely check that out, wholefoodmuscleclub.com. And then our Facebook group, which is where we do a lot of our videos and the cooking show once a week, and there is Whole Food Muscle on Facebook. So if you just search Whole Food Muscle, it'll come up for you.
Great. So my coaching to people on all these matters is, get some information and get yourself into a support community, right? And that's what I see is as soon as you get engaged in a community of like-minded people, the journey becomes easier and a lot more enjoyable.
That's why we encourage people to join the Whole Food Muscle Club, because it is an online community. People from all over the world are there. And you learn about some interesting foods that people in other parts of the world are eating.
They are available here.
Yeah,
too.
they're available.
You just don't think to
eat
them.
So it's a great online support community in the Whole Food
And it's a
Muscle.
safe support community.
Yeah.
There's no trolls. We don't allow it. It's all about support, and we don't allow negativity.
We monitor it really closely. And then, if people want more support than that, because, there's only so deep I can go generally. Humans are pretty unique creatures, and so I can only go so deep generally. But if you want more help, whether you're a competitive athlete or you're a stay-at-home mom, we do one-on-one coaching, so people can reach out to us to do that. And we do events and stuff for corporations as well. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get information from us.
All of this, it keeps coming back to number one is, how do you bring the stress down individually, getting your diet and getting your body in alignment just around not fighting all of the other things that you've been throwing at it is just one of the best things you can do.
And it's amazing how much more energy you have when your body's not fighting to eliminate the toxins from eating animal products. And so people say, I could never exercise, I don't have the energy. And then they eat plant-based and they're like, I need to go run.
That kind of comes right back to the longevity thing, right? There's this goal of, with longevity, we look at, and I always ask my class, how long would you like to live?
Right.
So I'll ask you, how long would you like to live? And you don't have to have the same answer.
I don't know, 150?
And in looking at my genes and looking at my family history, I think it is very conceivable that I could live to be 110. No joking aside, I believe I could live to be 110 with my genes and with my family history, and if I take good care of myself. My goal, though, isn't to be 110 and sitting in a nursing home waiting to die. I want to be 110 and going to walk a couple of miles with my friends and talking about the weather and the political climate and whatever.
Yeah. So this actually plays right into the psychology of aging, right? So aging is something people tend to fear. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have. So I always take the opportunity to, let's have a discussion about aging and getting really old. And everybody comes back to, I want to be healthy. Mm-hmm. Well, then we need to confront that. Yes. And what's going to keep you healthy, because fearing it is going to keep you from getting activated to make some better choices.
And eating plant-based has shown to the things that kill us, heart disease, diabetes, cancers, Alzheimer's, the things that kill us are eliminated by eating plant-based.
Right. And the only populations that have lived progressively longer beyond 100 as a large group have all been largely plant-based. Mm-hmm. Right?
Get that fiber in there, which you don't even have to think about if you're eating plant-based.
And that's probably the biggest difference. You say the common difference is they all, regardless of what the makeup is, they all eat far more fiber than most of us here. So
yeah. People are always shocked when we tell them how many carbs we eat and how much fiber we eat.
I remember you asked me one day, did I count how many grams of fiber that I had in a day? And I was quickly able to come up with 60 without working very hard
It's
at it.
just, when we first talked about it, I asked Russ, do you think we get 60? And that's why he counted our breakfast, our oatmeal. And he was like, well, we get 32 to 35 in our oatmeal. I think we're hitting 60. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
For people who have issues with regularity and kind of.
It's all fiber.
Yes, we use
a cup of beans every day. You should at least find a way to eat a cup of beans. And it doesn't have to mean physically a cup of beans. It could be hummus. It could be other different things that uses the beans. But a cup of beans a day should be the minimum of what you're eating.
So it's a healthy thing. It's the science makes it clear, and anecdotal evidence makes it clear. So I don't know. It's not hard. It's just a little bit of a learning curve.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much, both of you. That's been a great conversation and lots of learnings here and some practical things that I think people can rush off to the local market and get started.
Yeah,
right.
we're excited to see people show up in our groups and download our starter kit.
Yeah, find them on Facebook. It's a
free download. So
it's a great conversation platform, and it'll get you moving forward a lot faster. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Scott.